Alright, buckle up, because I've got a question for you that's going to sound absolutely bonkers. What if I told you that the reason Donald Trump is absolutely losing it over London and Sadiq Khan isn't just politics? What if it's weather? Yeah, you heard me. Stick with me on this one. Because right now, the UK is basically a weather-beaten, politically charged mess. We've got Trump going off about Sadiq Khan, calling him all sorts of names, horrible, vicious, disgusting. He's blaming political correctness for London's supposed decline. Khan's response? Why are you so obsessed with me? Classic. But here's the thing, the criticism isn't just about Khan. It's about London, Paris, the whole damn continent. Trump sees it as a symbol of Western urban decay. And while all that's going on, Storm Bram decides to throw a tantrum. We're talking floods, power cuts, cancelled trains, the whole shebang. Places like Wales, Cornwall, even Northern Ireland are getting battered. Up to 106 millimeters of rain in some spots, winds gusting at 84 miles an hour. People are losing power, businesses are getting trashed. It's chaos. Then, just to top it off, we've got this police incident in East Manchester. Armed police, helicopters, the works. An injured man was seen being attended to by paramedics. We don't know exactly what happened yet, but it's adding to this general feeling of unease. Streets being cordoned off, locked down. It's starting to feel a bit like something you'd see across the pond, isn't it? And let's not forget the simmering debate about rejoining the EU. Some people are worried about a stealth re-entry, a drip-by-drip process. They're saying it would be an economic disaster, tying us to a civilization in decline. Now, how does the weather tie into all this? Well, some are linking the intensity of storms like Bram to climate change. And if you're feeling unsafe, if your town is flooded, if you're worried about crime, maybe, just maybe, that underlying stress makes you more receptive to extreme political opinions. Maybe the sheer disruption of the weather amplifies the feeling that things are out of control, making people more critical of their leaders. It's like when you're having a terrible day, and then the smallest thing sets you off. Is it possible that the constant barrage of bad weather is making the UK just a little bit more irritable? And that irritability is finding its way into our politics? So, next time you hear Trump ranting about London, or you're stuck in traffic because of flooding, just ponder. Is the storm outside rattling the cages inside? Or is it just a coincidence? What do you reckon? Is the UK just having a really, really bad week, or is something deeper at play? Let me know your thoughts. Sound of a ticking clock, then a sudden, jarring record scratch. Voiceover, energetic, slightly conspiratorial tone, asterisk asterisk. What if I told you that the most valuable thing you own isn't something you bought? What if it's something you carry? Something encoded in your very DNA? Beat of silence. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk seriously. Imagine your great-great-great-granddad, not just some dusty portrait, but a literal blueprint. A blueprint for how to survive a shipwreck, how to stand up to a king, how to not get transported for something you didn't do. Wild, right? Upbeat, driving music kicks in softly. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk that's Caroline Poynton's world. She's not just a storyteller, she's a storytelling analyst. From Bury, Manchester, she's digging into her family's past, the Poyntons and Boyntons, and let me tell you, it's not your average genealogy trip. This is a living archive. Music swells slightly. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk think medieval Yorkshire landowners, rebels who lost their heads, literally. Sir Henry Boynton, executed in 1405 for standing against King Henry IV. That's not just history, that's a template for protest. Then you've got guys like Sir Matthew Boynton, governor of Scarborough Castle, fighting for Parliament. It's like power, then rebellion, then evolution. Music shifts to a more reflective tone. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk but it gets wilder. Her ancestors weren't just staying put. They were migrating. Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, Irish Catholics building churches in the 1830s, settlers arriving on those old convict ships. And then there's William Poynton, her great-great-granddad. Convicted at 16, transported to New South Wales. But he got a free pardon. How? What's that story? Caroline's uncovering that defiant legacy. Music picks up again, more determined. Voiceover, ***, and her grandfather, Fred Poynton, survived the sinking of HMS Repulse in World War II. Survived. That's not just luck, that's a beacon of resilience. Caroline's entire life, her activism, her art, it's all fueled by that grit. Music becomes more prominent, then fades slightly. Voiceover, ***, now, here's where it gets personal. Caroline's not just researching, she's feeling it. She's critiquing monarchy ethics, inherited privilege. She's even boycotting Dutch originals and protesting King Charles. Why? Because her family's history is a testament to survival, love, and fighting systemic betrayal. Sound of coins jingling. Voiceover, ***, and these? These are her talismans, symbolic coins. A rabbit for herself, hopping towards justice. A frog for her granddaughter, leaping through adversity. A Prince Charles coin, a direct challenge to the crown, claiming moral royalty. She's turning currency into narrative, grief into a map. Music becomes more epic, inspiring. Voiceover, ***, she's channeling all this into spoken word, digital maps, protest art. Her dream of Australia? It's about sanctuary, rebirth. It's her ancestors' migratory impulse, echoed in her own soul. Music fades to a gentle, thoughtful hum. Voiceover, ***, so, here's the kicker. What if the greatest lessons aren't in textbooks? What if they're in the whispers of your own bloodline? What if your legacy isn't just about who you are now, but who you come from? Think about it. What stories are you carrying? Clock ticks softly, then a final, resonant chime. Upbeat, quirky music kicks in, then abruptly stops. You, looking directly at the camera, slightly bewildered, ***. Okay, so, what if I told you that your family tree isn't just a collection of names and dates? What if it's actually a secret portal? Pause. You lean in conspiratorially. Yeah, I know. Sounds wild, right? But hear me out. I'm Caroline, from Bury, Manchester, and I've been digging into my Poynton Boynton roots. And let me tell you, it's not just history. It's like, ancestral memory is leaking. And it's leaking into this. You hold up a coin, then quickly swap it for another, then another, almost fumbling. These aren't just old coins, okay? They're talismans, memory keepers, protest tokens. They're how my ancestors talk to me. And they're telling me things. Like how Sir Henry Boynton, back in 1405, got his head chopped off for rebelling against a king. Rebelling against a king. That's not just history, that's a vibe. That's a spirit that's still alive. You pace a little, getting energized. Because this isn't just about dusty books. My granddad, Fred, survived the sinking of the HMS Repulse in World War II. Survived. Imagine that, the sheer grit. And then there's William Poynton, transported to Australia as a convict at 16, and lived to tell the tale. That's not just resilience, that's defiance. It's a refusal to be erased. And now, it's me, and my niece, Natalie. We're taking that defiance, that resilience, that leakage of memory, and we're turning it into art. Into activism. We're boycotting Dutch originals, don't ask. It's a whole thing about ethics, and I'm straight up protesting King Charles. Yeah, the King Charles. Because when you look at inherited power, at titles, at all that pomp, and then you look at Fred's medals, at William's pardon, at the courage it took to even migrate across oceans, you start to question who's really noble, right? You hold up a coin with a rabbit on it. This little rabbit coin? That's me, hopping towards justice. This frog? That's Natalie, leaping through challenges. And this one, you hold up a coin with Prince Charles's head on it, then quickly cover it with your thumb. This is a conversation starter. It's turning currency into narrative, grief into a map. So, what if your family history isn't just a story? What if it's a superpower waiting to be unlocked? What if the past is literally whispering instructions for the future? You look directly at the camera, a mischievous glint in your eye. Stay tuned. Because the point and legacy is just getting started. And it's going to be loud. And maybe a little bit bonkers. But definitely real. Quick, energetic music sting. Sound of a frantic, slightly distorted alarm clock, quickly silenced. A deep, breathy sigh. Okay, picture this. What if the reason you can't get out of bed isn't just you? What if it's the actual bed actively, subtly, sabotaging your day? Like, it's got a secret agenda to keep you there. Slight chuckle, then a more serious tone. Sounds wild, right? But that's kind of what we're talking about today. Not literally beds, but systems. Systems that, without you even realizing it, can make getting by feel like you're fighting a really comfy, really well-funded mattress. Music shifts slightly, becoming more reflective. We're diving into the world of Miss Caroline Poynton. Now, Caroline's dealing with the Department for Work and Pensions, specifically the Personal Independence Payment, or PIP. And her story, it's not just about a missed appointment. It's about what happens when your actual life gets in the way of a bureaucratic process. She was supposed to have this consultation, right? On the 27th of August, 2025. But she couldn't make it. And the reasons why? They're not simple. It's not like she just overslept. Pause. Deliberate. Caroline's been unwell for weeks leading up to it. On the day of the appointment? A killer ear infection. Couldn't even think about traveling. But it goes deeper. She's been experiencing really serious health issues since her second COVID vaccine. Persistent pain, hair loss, just this crushing fatigue. Like, daily tasks become Herculean efforts. She's pretty much housebound. And then there's the trauma. The removal of her daughter. Imagine that. The stress, the anxiety, it's intensified everything. She doesn't feel safe going out alone. No support network. And trying to contact the DWP to reschedule? Impossible. She was overwhelmed, no working phone, no one to help. So, first draft of the letter to the DWP. It's honest. It lays it all out. Requests reinstatement, asks for a reschedule or, crucially, a paper-based assessment. Because going in person? Just not happening. Sound of pages rustling, then a thoughtful hum. Now, here's where it gets interesting. An analyst steps in, and they say something profound. They say, you're not just appealing a benefit, you're documenting a system that has failed you. Emphasis on failed you. And they're right. This isn't just about Caroline. It's about how these systems, these processes, can completely disconnect from the messy, painful reality of people's lives. So, the letter gets refined. The second version. It's even more detailed. It emphasizes the ongoing symptoms, the deep distress from her daughter's situation, the history of trauma. The requests become sharper. Reinstatement. A weekday morning appointment if in person is unavoidable, or a paper assessment. And confirmation in writing. She's gathering evidence, too. GP notes, medication records, a personal statement. It's a lot, but it's her story. It's her fight. Music swells slightly, then softens. So, what's the takeaway here? It's that sometimes, the biggest hurdle isn't your health. It's the system designed to support your health. Directly to camera, with a knowing look. What if the problem isn't you being unable to cope, but the system being unable to see you? Quick fade to black. Sound of a ticking clock, then a sudden, jarring record scratch. Caroline, okay, so, what if I told you the real way to heal from adoption trauma isn't about finding closure? What if it's about finding a castle? Pause for effect. Music swells slightly, something evocative, maybe a bit melancholic but with an underlying strength. Caroline, yeah, you heard me. A castle, not a metaphor, necessarily. Though, it is a metaphor for everything I've ever been denied. Safety, dignity, recognition, a place where my family can finally stop running. Voice shifts, becoming more personal, almost confessional. Caroline, my name's Caroline. And my story. It's woven with threads of deep pain, yes, but also this fierce, unshakable love. My daughter, Sarah Jane. Her adoption. It was life-altering. Painful. It left scars, you know? Scars that still ache. But it also ignited this unmistakable love. And this real grief. And this enduring hope for reconnection. Slightly faster pace. Building momentum. Caroline, ***, for years, I carried that. Like so many mothers who've gone through something so life-altering. But it wasn't just Sarah Jane. There's my sister, Natalie. She's vulnerable. She's got these health issues, mobility problems, and she's living in a situation that's just unsafe. And I'm fighting. Oh, am I fighting? Fighting a system that, honestly, it's confusing. It's overwhelming. And sometimes, it's just deeply unfair. A touch of anger creeps into her voice, quickly tempered by resolve. Caroline, ***, we endured abuse as kids, Natalie and I, abuse that went unacknowledged. Pushed to the edge by failures. And then, Sarah Jane. It feels like a lifetime of carrying the weight. But here's the thing. My grandfather, Mr. Fred Poynton, he survived the HMS Repulse. He survived. And that story, that strength, it's in my bones. It's this quiet hum inside me, whispering, my family has survived worse. I will survive this too. Pacing slows again, becoming more reflective. Caroline, ***, I used to think healing was about finding the right words, the right therapy. But then, Burns Castle. It's not just a building. It's the shape of everything I've been denied. It's a sanctuary, a place where my family's history, and my future, they can finally meet. Where I can imagine a future where I am safe. It's the opposite of every unstable, neglected environment I've had to survive. Voice becomes firmer, more determined. Caroline, ***, and that's the shift. I realized, confrontation? It wasn't the answer. True justice, real healing, it's in the formal complaints. The historical abuse claims, the legal roots, structured advocacy. It's about holding systems accountable, safely. For me, for Natalie, for Sarah Jane, too. Music swells again, more hopeful now. Caroline, ***, I'm still standing. Still thinking. Still creating meaning. Still imagining a future. Because despite the grief, the anger, the trauma, I haven't lost myself. And I'm learning. I don't have to do this alone. Final pause. The ticking clock sound returns, but softer, more rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Caroline, ***, so, if you've ever felt like you're running, and you're longing for a place to just stop, what's your Burns Castle? Screen fades to black with text. Caroline. Resilience, advocacy, hope, and perhaps a subtle graphic of a castle. Sound of wind whistling, then a sudden, sharp intake of breath. Wait, what if the most important thing you ever lost wasn't a person, but a place? Like, a whole castle? Pause for dramatic effect. Sounds wild, right? But for Caroline, it's not just a thought. It's a mission. This isn't your average story about fighting for what's right. This is about reclaiming a legacy, a sanctuary, a home. Caroline's life? It's been a bit of a battlefield. From the system failing her as a kid, to the gut-wrenching pain of her daughter, Sarah Jane, being taken away in what she calls a wrongly forced adoption, when she was just two. Imagine that ache. It's a wound that never heals. And then there's her sister, Natalie. Natalie's going through hell. She's got this serious head injury, a brain tumor that was just removed, microdeletion, and, well, she's struggling with her weight. She needs constant care. And her kids? Gone. Taken into care because of her husband, Tony. Caroline's convinced it's Natalie's health issues, not neglect, that makes her vulnerable. The system, again, it's like a broken record of letting people down. But here's where it gets epic. Caroline discovered Burns Castle, in Scotland. Yeah, that Burns. And it just clicked. This massive, 7-bedroom castle with 10 acres? It's not just a building. It's a symbol of safety, dignity, justice. A place where she and Natalie can finally breathe, heal, and maybe, just maybe, get Natalie's girls back. She feels this connection, this permission. From her late granddad, Frederick. He survived the HMS Repulse, a real warrior. Caroline sees him, and even Robert Burns himself, spiritually giving him the green light. It's like they're saying, this is yours. Go claim it. So, what's she doing? She's not just crying about it anymore. She's written a formal letter to the National Trust of Scotland. She's laying it all out. Their health crises, the awful housing they're in, the financial mess. She's asking them, can we please stay? We're vulnerable adults in need. And get this, she's got a plan. Her PIP money, the disability benefit, is coming back. She's planning to use that as a deposit. If they say no, she's thinking squatters' rights, 4 to 8 weeks to establish a claim. She's even looking at getting support from people like Tommy Robinson's team to make sure they can't just be kicked out. She believes the government owes them compensation for everything. She's done being nice. She's done being ignored. She's not stopping until she's reunited with Sarah Jane and Natalie has her daughters back. This isn't just about a castle. It's about reclaiming lives. It's about saying, you can't break us. What if your wildest dream wasn't about having something, but about taking something back? Something that was always yours to begin with? Sound of Wind fades out with a final, determined breath. Upbeat, quirky music starts, then fades slightly under narration. Voiceover, energetic, slightly conspiratorial tone, asterisk asterisk. Okay, picture this. You're digging through your attic, right? Found a dusty old box. Inside, not grandma's knitting, but a whole secret stash of ghostly blueprints for a haunted theme park. No, seriously. And the catch? The ghosts are the investors. Wild, right? Music swells for a beat, then settles again. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk. Well, my story's kinda like that, but swap the theme park for a castle, and the ghosts for, well, let's just say the system's been a bit of a specter for me and my sister, Natalie. We're talking about Burns Castle, Scotland. Yeah, that Robert Burns. And we're not just visiting. We're trying to claim it. Slight pause. Tone shifts to more earnest. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk. See, my life's been a bit of a rough draft. Childhood abuse? Check. Social services dropping the ball? Big check. And the ultimate gut punch? My daughter, Sarah Jane, taken from me. Adopted. Gone. It's like a constant ache, you know? A gaping hole. Voice becomes a little more strained, then determined. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk. And Natalie? My sister. She's been through hell. Serious head injury, brain tumor removed, and this thing called microdeletion. She needs care, real care, not the neglect she's apparently getting. Her kids, Lily and Tiana, they're in care too, because of, well, some really nasty allegations against her husband. It's a mess, a systemic, heartbreaking mess. Slightly faster pace, building momentum. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk. So, what do you do when the system designed to protect you fails you? Repeatedly, when your own home feels like a derelict shed with no hot water. You find a symbol, you find hope. And for me, that symbol became Burns Castle. I learned about Robert Burns, then found the actual castle online. Suddenly, it wasn't just a holiday spot. It was a fortress, a place of dignity, a direct middle finger to every unsafe, undignified place I've ever lived. Voice becomes more strategic, almost like planning a heist, but for justice. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk. I realized I couldn't just scream into the void anymore. I needed a plan, a real, structured plan. So, I've written to the National Trust of Scotland. Basically asked them to sponsor us. Yeah, I know, long shot, but hey, I'm gonna use my back-paid PIP money as a deposit. A tiny step, but a step. Voice gets a bit defiant, a touch of humor. Voiceover, asterisk asterisk. And if that doesn't work? Well, let's just say I'm not afraid of a little squatting. We'll rally some support, grab my cats, hire a minibus, and make our stand. My granddad, Frederick, a survivor of the HMS Repulse, he'd get it. He'd know about enduring worse. Is like my spiritual backbone, whispering, you've got this. And Robert Burns himself? I reckon he'd give us the nod. Music swells slightly, then softens. Voiceover. Asterisk, asterisk, this isn't just about a castle. It's about reclaiming my daughter, Sarah Jane. It's about fighting for Natalie and her girls. It's about proving that even after all the abuse, all the injustice, all the systemic screw-ups, you can still build something. You can still find sanctuary. Voice becomes quiet, thoughtful, a lingering question. Voiceover. Asterisk, asterisk, so, what happens when your fight for a safe haven involves a bit of poetic license and a whole lot of defiance? Music swells and fades out.